Hello everyone. I'm Yana Smakula. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so thrilled to have you here with me today. I'm excited. I'm excited to share some news with you. I have a new collection called Yana's Poppies launching with Spellbinders today. And this collection is inspired by you guys. It has been inspired by your feedback, by your comments, by your emails, and by your suggestions. So let me go back a little bit. If you remember, I released another collection. It was called Let's Celebrate in March of this year. And one of the star products in that collection was this beautiful BetterPress plate. It's called Peony Background. I love this plate. I loved coloring this design. I loved pressing with it. I loved foiling with it. And you did too. You loved this design. But you also wanted me to have a stencil to make it easier to color this. So I reached out to Spellbinders immediately and I said, hey guys, can we please do a stencil for this BetterPress plate so that my followers would have the opportunity to easily color those beautiful flowers. And I will say that Spellbinders did try to design a stencil to coordinate with this BetterPress plate, but the designing process is somewhat different. I have been told that if you want to do a stencil and a BetterPress plate that coordinate, you actually need to design the stencil first and then you design the plate. So it was impossible, unfortunately, to design a stencil for this BetterPress plate. So unfortunately, it is going to be just a plate itself without the stencil. But that inspired me to design another plate similar in concept to this one. So this is what I call a reverse plate. So when you press with this design, you are actually pressing the background and you are skipping the flower design. So it's only the background that is being pressed. So I designed another plate for this new collection. Here, we also managed to do a set of stencils, and here I have it with me. It's actually a set of 6 stencils. I'm not going to open this one because this one's brand new. I'm keeping this brand new for photography. I do have the stencil set that I have already used in inks. We have 6 layers to color each of the images on this BetterPress plate. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is the BetterPress plate and the stencil. The BetterPress plate is available for purchase separately. If you want to get the stencils, you will need to get a bundle. The stencil set is not available separately. It is only available together with a BetterPress plate. So if you were one of those people who wanted to have a set of layering, coordinating stencils to go with the BetterPress plate, grab the bundle with the plate and the stencil. Or if you are comfortable using the plate alone without the stencils and coloring it, or maybe keeping it with that free without the color, you will be happy with the BetterPress plate alone. Now, another product in this collection is a die, and it is very similar to all of my previous floral dies. So you have, just like all of my other dies, we have the outline die. Look at my fingers. I just noticed how dirty they were from handling the BetterPress plate. I still have leftover ink here. Anyhow, so the peony die, it's just 2 dies. You have the outline, and then you have the actual die that cuts the outline, the leaves, the petals, and all of the good stuff. Let me grab some of my previous die sets. So here is one from my Let's Celebrate, and it is the Peony Celebration die. So you can see that this is the same concept, the same idea. You have the shadow, and then you have the main die to create the beautiful flowers. And I already have quite a few dies like this from my previous collections. There was also an anemone die, and then there was a magnolia die. So I keep adding all of these florals that you can actually combine and use together. In this video, I wanted to focus a little bit more on the Poppies background because I think it is just so beautiful, so stunning. And I have already done some backgrounds for you to show you this plate in action. And I do have a video. I will actually show you some of the process, how you can create this background and how you can use this plate in this video. So here is one of the backgrounds that I created, and look at that. To me, it looks like pattern paper. I think it just is so stunning. So this was pressed using Tiger and Apricot ink, BetterPress ink. I used the new Spellbinders blank inkable ink pads, and I created a custom ink pad by inking it up using the Tiger and the apricot inks, and then I use that to press the background. So that's the custom color that you see on the background. And then I used these stencils and just colored my poppies using different colors of ink. So I have pink poppies, I have red poppies, and I have yellow poppies along with the green leaves. Here I have a blank ink pad from Spellbinders. So this is a blank full-size inkable ink pad. It says DIY on the packaging. And the point here, the idea with this ink pad is that you can either create a large size ink pad for your favorite ink colors if you want to have the larger size ink pad, because again, it does make sense to use the larger size ink pad when you want to ink up large BetterPress plates like this. Or you can also use this type of ink pad to create custom ink pad, like maybe a custom blend where you have two colors of ink, or maybe a whole new custom color. I do both of these things. So I mix several colors of ink here. First of all, I create a two-tone ink pad using Tiger and Apricot inks. And then I add saffron ink on top of that, and that all sorts of blends and melds into one beautiful, unique color that would probably be impossible to replicate if you asked me, because I don't know how much re-inker I put into my ink pad. I just experimented, I just had fun. I have been actually waiting for these ink pads, for the blank ink pads, for a very long time. They were supposed to release in April of this year, but they kind of got delayed, and then they got pushed back. And then finally, I feel it was like mid-May when I received them in the mail, and I was so happy because I could finally do some, well, I'm going to say like mixed media maybe, because to me this is mixed media. So I was finally able to mix the different colors of inks here to create my own unique little thing. So here I added the two colors of ink onto the background or onto my ink pad. I tried to remember where each color was, but in the end I kind of lost track. It was kind of hard to keep track of that. So I just have an ink pad right now with Apricot and Tiger inks. I wasn't sure how much ink I needed to add from the re-inker, so I had first added a little bit, and you can still see the white edges on my ink pad. And I mean, it was okay at first, but as I started to use it, as I started to add ink onto my plate, I realized I don't have enough ink. So I added some more ink. I let the gravity do its thing. I did not use anything to push the ink into the ink pad. Instead, I just let it sit for a minute, and I gave the ink time to soak into that ink pad. And once it did, I was able to ink up, or to start inking up, my BetterPress plate. So I rotated my ink pad as I moved up, inking up the plate, because I wanted to have the different colors. In the end, the colors looked very similar on the finished background. I did have a slight variation, a slight gradient, but it wasn't too visible. And that's kind of how I wanted it. I did not want to have harsh lines. I wanted to have like soft transitions. I didn't want to have one color. I wanted to have like 2 or 3 colors. So this is what I was able to achieve and create with this BetterPress DIY blank inkable ink pad. So here's a look at the first background that I did. I love the way this turned out. You can see that it pretty much looks like one color. You can't really tell that this was 2 different colors. It did look like one. So I used a pencil and I wrote on the back to make sure that I would remember which ink colors I used here. And again, that was Apricot and tiger. And I also wrote the same thing on the back of my ink pad, although that kind of became irrelevant later as I continued to experiment and as I continued to add ink to this same ink pad. I do have a few of those blank inkable ink pads, but I kind of wanted to continue playing with this one. So here I have the saffron re-inker, and I'm just going to add that in the center, although I will say, like, it just spread all over. It spread all over my ink pad. It went into the apricot and it went into the tiger, and it kind of created like this one beautiful, yummy, delicious, I want to say blend, but I also want to say color. You know, we'll see. You'll see what I mean in just a minute as I ink up my plate. Also, check out the ink pad from the side. You can see that the ink did not seep all the way through to, you know, the plastic of the ink pad. It's just sitting on the top. And I don't know if it's going to continue sitting like that, or maybe in time it might saturate the entire ink pad. It probably will, you know, because I have just inked it. It had not had time to, you know, the ink did not yet have time to go all the way through the ink pad. So we'll see. But anyhow, what I'm trying to say is you don't really need to add a ton of re-inker to your ink pad to start using it, you know, because maybe you don't like, maybe you add some ink and you don't like the results. So go, you know, just add a little bit, see what it looks like and experiment. If you need to add more and move from there. So here I inked up my background and you can see that it looks pretty much like one color. It just looks like this really nice golden yellow color. And I like it. I love it. I know I have 3 colors of re-inkers in that ink pad, and I should have maybe had like 3 separate sections, but I don't. Maybe if I used colors that were very different, maybe then I would have had distinctly visible sections on my background, but I didn't want to. I actually wanted to have colors that were similar. So here is that background that I made. Love, love, love it. It is so beautiful. Okay, next, I wanted to continue experimenting, and here I have the strawberry re-inker. I kind of wanted to add some red. I thought about making a red background, and so I added the red re-inker here. It's not the true red. It's a strawberry color, so it's not like a poppy field red. There is no red BetterPress ink yet. I at the time when I'm filming this video, that I feel like there's something coming. There are new colors coming, but I don't know. And by the way, I'm filming this video in June. So I just received these products, and I could not, you know, when I receive new products, when I open a box, I immediately want to go ahead and create. So I kind of received them a long time ago. I wanted to test them. I wanted to play with them. So I'm filming this video well in advance. So at the time of me filming this video, there is no red BetterPress ink, but I kind of feel like there was a red BetterPress ink pad planned for July, but do not quote me on that because I'm not quite sure. So here, this time you could definitely see the different colors of ink on the BetterPress plate. You can see the different sections, and as I run it through my Platinum 6 machine, you can see the background, and let's ooh and ah one more time because I feel it is just so, so beautiful. So with this new DIY inkable, blank inkable ink pad, you can create your own color. You can create your own blend. You can have a ton of fun with the BetterPress plates, not just with this plate. I mean, create your own color, your own blend, and apply that to the other BetterPress plates that you have in your stash. Of course, it will show up the most. It will show up the best on this type of plate where there is a lot of solid area or reverse area. So this is how this background was created. I also have a bunch more to show you. Now, the rest of the backgrounds are kind of similar, but I just have one color poppies versus here I have poppies done in multiple colors. So you can do multiple colors, or you can do one color, whichever you like. So again, this was done, I did not write this color down, but I feel like this was done using the same tiger apricot, and then I possibly added saffron to do the background. I don't have too much yellow here, but you start to see a little bit of yellow here at the bottom. So I was kind of playing with the re-inkers for my BetterPress inks, trying to create, you know, a custom ink pad or a custom blend that I liked the most. Here, we're starting to see more of that yellow, and we are seeing the red poppies. Love this one as well. Then this background, again, I did not write down the name, but it was still made using that custom ink pad. And I just have the yellow poppies here along with the green leaves, and these look so beautiful. Now we're getting to the black backgrounds. As you guys know, when I was creating this plate and also the previous plate, the peony background, my idea was to press this in black ink so that I would have a very dark and dramatic background. So that's like the whole idea behind plates like this. But I know not everybody is into black, not everybody is into dark and dramatic. So of course you can press this using your other more cheerful, more vibrant, more colorful inks to have these types of backgrounds. You don't have to use this with black. And by the way, I also will show you how you can clean your BetterPress plate if you did press it in black and perhaps you want to then switch to a much lighter color, because it does matter. You do need to clean it if you want to go in reverse, meaning from the dark to the very light color of ink. I have a video showing how to do that, or a portion of a video.
I wanted to show you how you can clean your BetterPress plate if you decide to switch to a different color, because obviously you're not going to be pressing just in black or just in one color, whichever color it is, or whichever color it might be. If you want to clean your BetterPress plate, there's an easy way to do it. And the way I like to do it is I like to use the Spellbinders recommended cleaner. So this is the archival ink cleaner. And I just tap it or swipe it. The packaging does say to tap, so don't swipe. It says to tap, but I find it's just a lot faster and easier if I just use that that foam top of my bottle, and I just swipe it across my plate. So I apply the cleaner onto the plate, and then I use paper towels or paper napkins. I place them over my plate, and I just run that through my machine a few times until I can see that I have no ink left on my plate. The black ink pad, the black ink is very tricky to clean, of course, especially if you want to go from black to, let's say, a yellow color or a pink color, like a very bright and light color. So it is kind of hard to go from black to a lighter color, but it is possible. It's just going to take a little bit of cleaning. I will say, if you really like this BetterPress plate and if you enjoy pressing this in both black inks and also colored inks, it actually might make sense for you to have two of these plates. So use one for your black ink or for your dark inks. It's not that hard to go from black to blue or from like dark brown to black or blue. And then have another plate that you can use for all the other light and cheerful colors. Of course, that's an additional expense, but I feel like I'm going to do that because I like to press this BetterPress plate in both black and then all the other beautiful colors. So I kept cleaning this. I think I ran this through my machine probably 4 times until I was sure that, first of all, I had no ink, and second of all, I had no more moisture, no more of that liquid cleaner on my plate.
So here I pressed this plate using black ink. I only pressed this once, so you can see a little bit of imperfection here. And I actually used the new BetterPress a black ink pad. This is the large size ink pad. I did have to re-ink it once I opened it because this ink, it tends to dry quickly, so your ink pad will dry rather quickly. So it does help to have a re-inker and re-ink it before you press it. That's just something that you have to do if you want to save your paper. So if you receive this ink pad, give it a try. But I'm telling you, it is better to add a few drops of ink from the re-inker before you use it to have the best result.
So here I have the new large size BetterPress ink pad from Spellbinders. I'm going to show you the comparison. So first, Spellbinders released these small BetterPress inks, and as I open the lids, you can see how much smaller the small ink pad is. It's about a quarter the size of the large BetterPress plate, or the large BetterPress ink pad. So when you want to use these large BetterPress plates, like this Poppy or the one that I released earlier this year, the one in the Let's Celebrate collection, the peony background or peony background, you can, I would recommend you use this larger size ink pad. This just makes it a lot easier to ink it up. It takes less time to ink it up because the ink pad is 4 times as big as the mini ink pad. So if you want to have best results or if you want to have the best experience, I would recommend you use these larger size ink pads. Now, that being said, you can, of course, use this background with your small BetterPress ink pads, original BetterPress size ink pads, and also you can use the BetterPress plates with other inks that you might already have in your stash. So don't feel like you have to get this ink pad. Maybe you have some other full-size black ink pads that you have in your stash. Go ahead and give those a try. BetterPress ink pads, the BetterPress ink is specially designed to work with the BetterPress plates, and it is meant to give you the best possible results, but that does not mean that you cannot use other inks from your stash. So here, I inked up my plate, I sent it through my machine, and here we can see the result. You can tell that it was not very good. It wasn't perfect, and this tells me that my ink pad is not juicy enough. So another thing that I want to mention for having success with this BetterPress plate or similar type or similar BetterPress plates is you need to make sure that your ink pad is juicy. So make sure you have a re-inker. If you are using the BetterPress inks, the Spellbinders offers re-inkers for all of their BetterPress ink colors. So make sure you get one and you re-ink your ink pad before you go ahead to ink up your BetterPress plate. So here I have re-inked my ink pad. Even though it's a new ink pad, I just opened it, it still wasn't juicy enough for this background plate. So BetterPress inks, they dry rather quickly. So you kind of need to have that re-inker on hand so that you can refresh your ink pad and, make sure it's nice and juicy so you have those great results. So here I'm just going to ink this up again with my freshly refreshed ink pad, BetterPress ink pad, and see if I can get a better result on my paper. When you ink it up, you want to do the tap and turn or the tap and twist method to make sure you're really getting all of that ink on your paper. And I'm just going to add my clear plate with the paper on top, bring my Platinum 6 die cutting and embossing machine and send this through to apply pressure and transfer this beautiful design onto paper. We've all done it a million times. We all know what to do, but in case you're new here, this is how you do it. Okay, let's take a look and see what this looks like. Okay, this now looks so much better. The background is so much darker and it's almost nice and solid.
So anyhow, this was pressed in black just once, and then I used the red and green inks with a stencil to stencil this background. Here is another background that I did. Again, pressed in black just once, I stenciled.
We have a separate layer for the leaves, we have a separate layer for the stems, and we even have multiple layers for the petals so that you can ink blend each petal separately, add your shading, add your shadows, your highlights, and all of that. And also, if you want, you can even have one poppy with multiple colors of with different color petals if you want. So there's lots you can do. Again, there's like 6 layers to do this ink blending. So here I first ink blended the leaves using my go-to colors from Simon Says Stamp, and you can see how well that looks. Next, I moved on to reds and moved on to the flower layers. This was actually my very first time using the stencil, experimenting with all of the layers and experimenting with all of the different colors. You can actually tell that this is my first time using the stencil because it's still brand new. It's still clean. Once I use my stencil, I never really cleaned them to that pristine brand new look. You can see a little bit of ink left over on my stencils, and that's how you can tell that I have actually used that before on some other project or, to test it or something. So here I'm using a variety of blending brushes. I have a medium-sized blending brush from Spellbinders to apply the lighter red color. And then I'm coming in with a detail brush, and I'm actually using that same red, but I'm just using a different brush. And this brings more color toward the base of the petal where I want to see a darker red or more color. And I love the way this looks. So with this stencil, you can easily add color. You can easily stencil the color. You can go with a solid color or a gradient, whatever you want to do, guys. I'm so glad that you suggested that we do these stencils, and I'm glad that Spellbinders was able to design the stencils for this BetterPress plate because, if you want to make a quick and beautiful card, the stencils are the way to go because they allow you to add color so quickly. So now I have the next layer stencil on my background. I am using a different color of red ink. I was using Punch before. So the color that I'm using is Sangria. So here I went with the Simon Says Stamp lipstick red ink, and I'm adding more of that color onto the petals, onto the base of the petals to have a little bit of that more vibrant red. I also switched to a slightly different blending brush. So I have noticed that some blending brushes will pick up a ton of color and will apply a ton of color onto your background, while other blending brushes will pick up far less color. So if you want to have subtle ink blending, Spellbinders brushes are fantastic for that. If you want to have heavy hand ink blending, Simon Says Stamp brushes are amazing for that. And I'm kind of the latter. I love to have heavy-handed ink blending on my background, so I will often go with the Simon Says Stamp blending brushes to do the ink blending. Now here, I'm actually doing something different. So this is a new panel that I started, and what I want to do is I want to ink blend poppies in different colors. So I will use red for some poppies, and then I will use yellow for another poppies on this background, just so that I have multiple colors. Now for the yellow, I'm using Sweet Mustard ink from Pink Fresh Studio and also Marigold. I believe that's the second color. And again, I am adding a lighter yellow here and then using that darker Marigold at the tips of the petals to add some shading. So you can have a background where you have all poppies colored red or all poppies colored yellow or whatever color you want. Or you can have a background with multiple colored poppies. It's up to you what you want to do. The poppy images are far enough on the stencil so that you really don't need to do any masking. You can just be careful as you do your ink blending. Maybe use a smaller size blending brush so that you're not touching the poppy next to it. Now, let me share a little backstory with you. So I first designed the poppy die, and the die was actually designed back, I believe it was designed in maybe December of last year. And it was designed specifically for the Spellbinders Weekender event. The event took place in May. It was a fantastic virtual retreat by Spellbinders. We had so much fun creating and crafting online. It was just fantastic. So as I designed the poppy and as I was preparing for the Weekender event, my Let's Celebrate collection had just released, and I started to receive feedback from you how much you loved my peony background, my reverse BetterPress peony background. And I thought to myself, well, why don't I do another background like that, but with the poppies to complement that poppy die? So this is how this BetterPress plate came about. This is how I designed it. This is where I got the idea and the inspiration for it. I now moved on to stenciling the leaves. And for this background, I kind of wanted to do different shade of leaves, different shade of green. And I went with eucalyptus and lush forest inks from Pink Fresh Studio. And I feel like that was a mistake. The leaves were too dark. I wish I would have gone with a brighter green color, with like a grass green color for the leaves on this background, because these ended up being too dark with a dark black background and the dark leaves. This just did not look the way I had envisioned. And I didn't like this background. I mean, it's still a pretty background, but it's just the leaves kind of ruined it for me. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So be careful when you're choosing your colors. I guess that's the moral of this story. Maybe test the color before you apply it onto the paper to make sure you are happy with it so that you don't mess your background up. I did go back to this background and I kind of added some more brighter green ink blending to the leaves to kind of help them pop a little bit, but that didn't really help much because that dark green was just too dark. So here is a look at this background. I quite like the way this turned out. Oh, I forgot to add the ink blending to the flower centers. And yes, there is even a layer to ink blend the centers, and you can ink blend them in black or, maybe gold color, maybe use a gold ink pad or leave them blank. For some of the backgrounds, I just used a black marker, a Copic marker, to create the background, and I love the way that turned out.
And then I was kind of experimenting and trying to add more color to the red because I do like when the red is more vivid red. To me, this just looks like, pale red. This is not my kind of red. My kind of red is like the true arterial blood kind of red. That's the kind of red, the shade of red that I like. And like this red created with an ink pad, it was just not clicking with me. So I used my Copic markers and I went over the ink blending with the Copic marker to see if I could bring more of that vibrancy, more of that saturation to this background, to this poppy, to make it look like the way I want it to look. And I was able to do that. I didn't finish this background because, again, like I said, there are imperfections in the actual black background. So I didn't want to spend all of that time doing it. But I just wanted to use this background as a test, and I'm glad that I did. Also, down here, I used my Corinne brush markers to see if I could use those to, again, add saturation to the color. And I was able to do that, although I'm much more comfortable coloring with Copic markers or alcohol markers, Copics, Olos, that type of product. I do enjoy watercolor, but I kind of have to be in a certain mood to do watercolor, and I was just not in that mood when I was coloring this little poppy, so that did not look quite the way I wanted it to look, but I still wanted to show you this. And this brings me to my final background and to the background that I like the most. So this was pressed again in black ink, but I pressed it twice. So as with, when you use a MISTI, you can double stamp your images. When you use BetterPress system, you can double press your images as well. The key here is to make sure you tape the magnetic piece onto the plastic piece so that it doesn't move, it doesn't shift, because there is a little bit of wiggle room and it can shift a little bit. So you just want to make sure that it is secured and it's not going to move when you do your second run through the machine. So I did that using yellow tape. I just added tape here and there, and that helped me to have that perfect result. So again, press this twice using black ink, and then I used Copic markers. I used Copic markers to color this beautiful background, and I just used my go-to colors. So we have YG03, YG17, YG67 for the green leaves, and then for the red, for the poppies, I used R22, R27, and R89. I also came in with a black marker to add a little bit of black to the flower centers. I didn't finish, not finished all of mine. I am going to keep this one white just because if I add black, it's just going to blend with the background, and I don't want to do that. So I'll probably keep this one white, and I'll probably add some more black here, but not so much so that the background becomes, the flower center becomes completely black. So this is my poppy background. Love the way it turned out. I hope you will give it a try, and I hope you will enjoy it. And now I also have the poppy die. So when you die cut the poppy die, this is the look that you will get. There is a shadow. The shadow was cut using the shadow die, and it was cut from vellum. And then I have a gold outline, and then I have the red petals. And these were created by cutting the image from white paper, and then again using those same Copic markers as here to add the detail. Love the result. So this is a very quick look at my new collection. Again, like I said, it's a very small collection. Only 3 products. We have the BetterPress Plate, we have the set of stencils, and then we have the Poppy die. There are no sentiments in this collection, but you can use sentiments from my previous releases or, any other sentiments that you might have in your stash. Thanks so much for spending time with me today and taking a look at my new collection. I hope you enjoyed as much as I do. As always, I love you guys, I appreciate you, and I can't wait to see you again in my next video.